Video is sponsored by Buckle Guy, per usual. We are closing in on our first year with them, and we just got a fresh shipment of all sorts of hardware and stuff, and we have lots of good projects coming in, getting ready to go. I mean, black re tape with rainbow, come on now. So I'm going to be organizing this box for the next day, but let's get into the video. Hey everybody, we have a bit of an unusual circumstance today. Kayleen is unfortunately out sick again, and it's just the flu between that, and it's a rough time. So what I did was, we usually have a couple of videos backed up. We don't, so I am on I have a little Sony vlogging, I guess, camera that I've never used before, and I figured I'd put it to use, and I asked you guys questions on Instagram, and I'm gonna answer them, whether it be demos or business stuff. I'm gonna go through live and film them and get you some answers. So let's start out with our first question. I guess I'm just gonna move the camera around to make things more interesting. So first question is, why don't you show your face as usual? A couple of reasons. Really the main one is I have a little Corter tattoo here, and I know our channel isn't that big, but people recognize me just from the tattoo. So it's just a privacy thing. Once you put your face out there, you really can't take it back. And I really enjoy my anonymity walking around. I also have a panic disorder, and I wouldn't want to seem like a real jerk if someone came up to me and I was very quiet, because I'm not really good in big crowds. So that's why I don't show my face, and haven't. I might one day, but for now, probably not going to. Okay, so next question. How do you manage new product design while maintaining inventory and orders? You have to look at new product design as part of your job. So for example, I can take this around and show you. This is kind of cool. It's like a vlog. It's literally designed as a vlog camera. So we'll see how this goes as far as like quality is concerned. But so these are the limited edition general release. So this is us doing inventory, right? But then we have days where we will design stuff. So we'll sit at the workbench and we'll design, because that's part of our job. We pack all these up. So these are all, they have SKU numbers on them, and they're all packed up and ready to go. We use a fulfillment center, so we don't ship things ourselves. We send all of our product to a fulfillment center, and then when you order stuff off the website, that order goes to them and they ship things out. So that allows us to have a much smaller shop, and in turn it keeps our costs low, which lets us keep our price low. And as far as designing is concerned, Kayleen is a design monster. She can design anything. She has great taste. I also design a ton. I'm one of those people that can't shut my brain off at night. So yeah, that's how we manage it. You have to look at design as part of the job, especially with the YouTube channel. If we don't put out new patterns, we have nothing for you guys to do, no patterns to make, sell, nothing for you to watch. So yeah, we just look at it as part of the job. Why can't I get my zipper tape to stick to the leather when installing a zipper? Well, it depends on what you're using, right? So we always use double stick tape. This is Ted's tape from Buckle Guy. I really like Ted's tape as opposed to basic basting tape, because it does have a little bit of a, like a fiber in there, so it adds a little structure. And this will stick a zipper to leather if you're using a poly zipper or a cotton zipper. You can also use barge cement, whether you use the toluene free, the regular barge cement, anything. If you're using a water-based adhesive, I found that's a little bit difficult sometimes to get zipper tape to stick to leather. So it might just be what you're using. I always pretty much use basting tape or double stick tape of some sort. That is pretty much the foolproof way. We have a whole video, if you just search our channel for zippers, we have a whole video tutorial on how to install zippers, and we use basting tape or Ted's tape, and it's the best. Can you do a video about your solar system? I, for one, would be very interested in show and tell. So I have a question to ask you guys, so let me show you first. If you follow me on Instagram, I've kind of been showing this off, but this workshop will be off-grid. And, let me turn the light on. This is, oh, can I zoom out? I might have to back up. So this is our solar system for the shop that I've been building. So those are our solar, the charge controllers, those are the inverters. Our battery banks are down there, so this is all lithium iron phosphate. And then on this side, we have the normal panel that we had to have replaced, and then this is a transfer switch. So if I flip this off, watch, light goes out. The inverter is going to send the 12 volt or 24 volt power through Romex to the transfer switch. This is the same kind of transfer switch you would use for a generator. And basically we're just going to flip all these up. It's for the plugs in the shop, the fireplace in the shop so we can heat it, and lights. So the whole shop is going to be off grid. I will do a video on it if you'd like to see it. But also, I've been kind of thinking about starting a second channel. You can see our lighting setup, which is the next question that I'm going to answer. But I've been thinking about starting a second channel that's just me with this little vloggy camera, which is why I bought it. Kind of showing the renovations to the place, because it's a 1900 farm, it's a farm built in 1900. And if you guys, if that's something you guys would be interested in, I want to document it just for myself. So it would just be me and this camera, probably low production value, but you know, I'm redoing a bunch of stuff. I'm building apartments, we're adding solar, doing all sorts of stuff. So if you want to see that, let me know, and I will start putting videos together as I do stuff and maybe put them out there. There might be face in that one actually, because it'd be pretty hard to show someone installing a whole solar array without showing their face. One of these says, what is your filming setup now? And I'm gonna go through that really quickly because we did it on a budget kind of. So the microphone, the first step we did was we got the microphone off of the camera because we were using like a Rode video mic that you see a lot of people use. This is an Ear Trumpet Labs Edwina. Now these are like $600 microphones. Make music, so I've had this for 10 years. I think it was like 300 bucks when I bought it. This goes down into a box right there to power it. And then it also switches it from XLR to 1/8 that goes into this box on our camera. And this box is just a gain control so that we can make sure we're not clipping. And for camera, we shoot with an 80D. I just buy used cameras on eBay. This camera was 400 bucks. And then I shoot our still photographs for Instagram and stuff with just a 5D Mark II. I got the 5D Mark II on eBay with this L lens for 800 bucks. And this is a 24-105. I think it's an f4, something like that. It's good enough for filming. I like using Canon stuff. I like the skin tones. I like how it's not super, super sharp. 4K stresses me out. I like having a little bit of softness to the video. Our lighting setup is that. I don't know if it'll focus or not because I don't know how this camera's set up. Oh, look, you guys want to see the sunset out from the really nice sunset tonight. So there we go. This is a newer lighting kit, NEWERR, I think. And it comes with everything you see here except for this bar, and it's for like 250 bucks. This is called a lantern diffuser. So a lot of light boxes will be black all the way here and then point directly at where you're filming. The lantern shade is really nice because it spreads light all around the room. So you can see it's pretty natural looking in here. Granted, it's not really daylight out. When it's daylight out, it's really just a nice fill to make sure the shadows are covered. And then this arm was like 99 bucks. And this just allows us to keep this out of the way. So we just push it away when we're working because this is a working shop. That's one of our main workbenches. But that's it really. So I go microphone into the camera with that light. And then sometimes, like it's dark, I have one of these little, whatever brand that is. This was 60 bucks and it is a LED light. And the thing I like about the newer and this is that they have percentage control, but also light color. So you can control the temperature of the light. So like the background, for example, right now is a little bit warmer so that when I'm standing here, it will pick me up and kind of have me a little bit cooler and brighter, and there's a little difference going on. But nothing really expensive. I mean, that mic stand it's just a cheap mic stand. Normal XLR cables, $800 camera setup that was used, and $200 light. You really don't need much to make some nice content. It's really about the content. And yeah, so that's our setup for filming currently. And I don't think we plan to change much because it's been working out really well. What's your favorite leather to use? I really like natural veg tan, and I really like anything tumbled in Italian. But natural veg tan I've made everything out of forever. how do you keep your stitching holes super straight each time? Practice. If you go back on our channel, I can't give you any tips on how to get better besides practicing. Buy a bunch of junky leather, get stuff from thrift stores, whatever, and just practice punching line after line after line after line after line of stitching holes. That's the only way you're going to get, like, if you're not naturally good at it, that's how I did it, and that's a good way to practice it. Okay, here's a good one. What is your policy/preference for reproducing and selling items based on your patterns? I wouldn't sell a pattern that you aren't allowed to like make money off of. That's it. I know other people disagree with me. I know people say make it your own. If you are kind enough to purchase a pattern from us, that supports the channel, that supports us being able to do what we love. As long as you don't resell the pattern, which I think is just kind of like copying a PDF. Obviously, that's not a cool thing to do. Make 1 million of them. I'm not selling any patterns that I'm using myself. I mean, we do sell patterns that we use ourselves. But my policy is the patterns are free and clear to use however you want. We're actually going to be releasing some PDF booklets of sets of patterns that if you wanted to do a line, you could do a line of bags or a line of small wallets or whatever next year. That'll be an even better value. It'll be under $1 per pattern. And I think that the more accessible this craft is, the better. And you know, some people love the craft, but they're not great at designing. I'm a better designer than I am at the craft. So, you know, that's my policy, but I know everyone else's is different. I just personally don't support charging $25 for a pattern that then you kind of put that you can't legally reproduce it for sale, but there's no legal backing standing to that anyway, if you know anything about the law. So like, but we do all of our patterns very much wanting you to make them for yourselves, make them for your friends, and then if you want to make them to sell, go for it. How do you finish your natural veg tan to look so consistent? We don't. This is just clean. This is actually Wicked and Craig veg tan, or Herman Oak. Get good hides and work with clean hands, wash your hands. I actually will sometimes, I have a spray bottle of rubbing alcohol and I'll just spray my hands down with rubbing alcohol. You do have to moisturize or you'll dry the hell out of your hands and it won't be good for your hands, but just learn how to work clean. You know, make sure you have a cutting board that you do your dyeing on, and a cutting board that you do your cutting on with dry dye. We have 6 or 7 cutting boards. One never sees dye, one never sees edge paint, all that kind of stuff, just to work as clean as possible. And then you eventually just kind of get the hang of it. I don't work with gloves. I always find it a bit, I understand why people work with gloves, but I think with wallets, when you're showing off a wallet with gloves, wallets hold the dirtiest thing that we touch every day. Money is so dirty. So if you can't build a wallet that doesn't require gloves to hold, you got to probably backtrack a little bit, because you know, this is going to be holding dollars and wherever country you're in, currency, credit cards. Those things are so dirty that don't even worry about holding these things with gloves when you're showing them off. So yeah, just learn how to work clean. And again, it's practice. A lot of this stuff is just, I hate to not have a specific answer for you, but it's just practice, practice, practice. You learn, you know, if I touch this oil, make sure to wash my hands, get a degreaser. You know, that if you want to work with gloves in that sense, like to keep dye off your hands, absolutely. But I don't work with gloves. I don't do anything particularly. I have Sharpie written on my hands. My nails are questionable sometimes when I'm doing housework at the same time. You just learn to kind of keep your tools and cutting boards and areas separate as a habit. And then, yeah, if you work clean, your work will come out clean. There's a couple in here that I'm going to lump together. When do you justify buying large machinery, i.e. clicker presses? And are presses and dies worth the time savings and the efficiency when starting out 0 to 3 years in? So when I justify buying large machinery, so the thing with leatherwork is you don't need a lot of large machinery. So we are currently waiting on some new buckle guy stuff to come in. So what we ran the entire run of our limited edition stuff on was this clicker press, which is $1,200. This is the old foil stamp machine that we were using with Weaver. We just happened to have it, so we used it. I think it's like $600. And this is a 12-year-old press from Weaver that is broken, has been re-welded and we just kind of, we don't even have a big press right now because we're waiting on a new one, and our clicker dies. Sorry for all of the mess. It's kind of, the holiday week is nuts. I'm just trying to get a good informational video out for you. But I justify things when I have an order. The way I started was, so this die set, this is a die set just for, we talked about in the last video, that's just for a card sleeve. This die set makes our card holder. We're gonna come back over here. I justify it when I have a job that will pay for it. So if I got a job, I made these by hand until I got a job of say 20 or 30 pieces, and that invoice covered the die set. Obviously you would buy the press first, but that invoice covered the die set, and so I took no profit, I reinvested. Then once you have them, these are not, you know, I'll go back over here. These are not like things you're gonna have to buy over and over again, right? So this is 12 years old. I know for a fact that we've made over 50,000 wallets using this press going through our books. This die set, this die is also 10 years old. It has about 30,000, 40,000 impressions on it, never been sharpened. It does have the stitching holes in it, as you can see by the release foam there. And they just don't go bad. You buy them once, and they are more expensive with the die holes in them. This is from Texas Custom Dies. They're wonderful. But this has probably saved us, I mean, when you think about the time cutting and punching, that's about 60 to 70% of your work. And if you can cut that out, you not only lower the time it takes to make something, but you can either up your profit margin, or you can lower your cost to your customer, or you can do half of both, which is usually what we do. We will take a little less money because it takes us less time, and it offers us an offer it at a lower price to the customer so that they can get a better value for their money. Having used the press that Buckle Guy sells, which is, we've been using this for about a year now, and having 10 years of experience on the Weaver press, a lot of people ask for a comparison. I really do love the Weaver press. It's a beautiful machine. The only issues I have are that there are a few breaking points, and if you use it heavily, the adjustment, this was broken in like a year, so it's stuck at one height. We've been using this one really heavily too, and the way it's designed is just a little bit different. The height still works, everything still works, and it's a lot cheaper. So as much as we love Weaver, we are still very good friends with Weaver. We have a great relationship with them. We obviously still use their tools. I would say if you were going to pick one of the presses, definitely the Buckle Guy press is our favorite in the shop right now. Tips for working with chrome tan leathers. So this is from Newbury Leathers. This is one of their signature leathers. It is chrome tanned. There aren't really anything, there's not really much special you have to know about chrome tan leather except for the burnishing part. So burnishing, use Tokonol. It's going to be really, really hard to get a nice smooth edge with like a gum trag or any traditional burnishing method on a chrome tan leather. The other thing is, if you're not working with thicker chrome tan leathers, they can be pretty stretchy. So if you are making, say, something like this out of chrome tan leather, you might want to stitch the pocket tops as well as the sides, and that stitching is what's going to create your strength so that your pockets won't stretch out over time. But besides that, chrome tan leather is really beautiful to work with. It creates a very soft, worn-in product a lot of the times, and we love working with it. What's it like working with your wife? Kayleen and I are not married. We are not in a relationship. She has her own partner and a family, and I have my own thing, and we're just a guy and a girl that work together. So, you know, we are very close. I would say we're like cousins. She's one of my best friends. I know her whole family. She knows my whole family. I go to family events at her place and all that kind of stuff. But we're more akin to cousins than anything else, and we're very lucky. It's not easy to find anyone to work with 40 hours a week, just one-on-one, and we've been doing it for, God, over 8 years now. But no, we're not married, so not a husband and wife team. Do you ever use a stitching groover? No, I don't. You do a lot of saddle work. Well, I don't do any saddle work. That's weird. I don't do saddle work. No, I don't use a stitching groover. I just use a set of dividers to mark my stitch line, and that's pretty much it. And then also, have you ever tried a laser cutter with your work? I have. Not a huge fan, but that's personal preference. I'm going to go through some of these really, really quickly. Will you make a pair of moccasin boots in the near future? I would love to learn how to make a pair of moccasin boots. There was a lovely gentleman that had a business called Arrow Moccasins in Massachusetts, and he recently, a few years ago, passed away. But I had been in contact with him to go learn how to make moccasins. So unfortunately, I have a lot going on right now to make that a priority, but I one day will absolutely love to work on moccasins because I have gigantic feet and I would love to make my own shoes that actually fit them. I'd love to see a belt holster for a flashlight video tutorial. We will work on that for you. How do you keep your tool edges sharp? Edge bevelers, skiving knives, French edgers, etc. I strope. You guys always tell me I say the word right or wrong. I just keep things stroped. Get some Jeweler's Rouge and stroping. I just use spare veg tan and strope it. For the most part, that's all you need to do. Once a year, maybe. Give it a good whetstone grinding. But for the most part, keeping things stroped is pretty much all you need to do. Let's see. How do you keep track of your profits and expenses as a business? QuickBooks, pretty much it. An expense comes in, goes into QuickBooks. The bank account tells us how much money we have, and we budget going off of that, basically. Let's see, what hot foil machine do you use for stamping? Right now we have the Weaver one. We're waiting on a Buckle Guy one. Let's see, what else? When making a key fob, how do I align the stamp block to put a logo onto it? Do I first press the logo in? Yes, so we have a whole video on this. If you look back how to make $100 an hour, I believe it was 2 or 3 videos ago. I personally make my stamps with a registration line around the entire stamp. And what that does is it allows you to then go in and put your clicker die in, and it locks right in and makes everything perfectly centered. So if you go back and watch that video, you will see the entire process. Can you teach yourself not to smack the marble with your knife, removing excess while skiving? So that's actually, so I did some forging, and I don't know why I do that. And sometimes it's to clear stuff off the knife, but when you're forging, you do a lot of like I'm talking like hand forging, and I've only done it for 6 months. I had a friend that was teaching me how to forge, and you forge by, I'm gonna use my phone, but you hit it, and then you tap the anvil, and then you hit it, and then you tap the block, or the anvil, and it's to keep rhythm. So that's why I do that. So I could teach myself how to do it, but I'm probably not going to because that's just how I've skived forever, and it's how I'm able to skive quickly. It's by keeping that rhythm. Let's see. When are your pricking irons coming out? Hopefully in the next month to 6 weeks. Everything is ready except for packaging. So all we have to do is wait for packaging. Do you apply anything to leather after you finish making a product? It depends on the type of leather. Natural veg tan is natural, so no. Some other veg tans, if it needs it, we'll hot stuff it, we'll oil it, we'll do whatever. Chrome tans, usually we don't apply anything. It's brand new leather if it comes from the tannery, unless there's something too dry or something going on with it. No, we don't do anything to it. And last but not least, I like the business-oriented videos a lot. Thank you so much. I like making them, and so we plan to make more in the future. That's on our New Year's plan. And other than that, just let us know what you want to see next week, because next week's that weird week in between Christmas and New Year's, and we like to do something fun. So if you want to see a project video, you want to see a specific business topic, I promise Kaylina will be back. We'll be using the normal camera, but I also actually really like using this camera and think I'm going to give it a go with that second channel. Really let me know how you feel about that. So thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great holiday, no matter which one you celebrate, and we'll see you in the next one. Okay, so I thought I'd put in one extra segment because we had a latecomer to the questions, and it was, can you show us your watch collection? I don't have a big enough collection to really show off my watch collection, but I do like watches, and in the beginning of this year, I decided to sort of wear them in my videos. So here's a little selection. I collect mostly vintage stuff, although I do like cool newer stuff from smaller brands. I have a Squale GMT, the gray and blue bezel. That's always been one of my favorites. That's what I'm wearing today. This was the first watch I ever got. Traditional Mickey Mouse watch from Disney World. Still have that. And then for the most part, I am a big Seiko Turtle fan. So these are all from the 70s. They are all totally redone. And then I also collect a lot of stuff with engravings on them. So if you look at this one, I don't know how close the camera can get here, but that has an R in it. Now these were Vietnam, post-Vietnam watches. So Vietnam vets would come through and they would get themselves a new watch. I did replace the bezel on this one. This is original bezel. This is original bezel. And this is a super clean original bezel. And they're all pretty much, these are all the same watch. They're just different years. And I have the original, obviously I keep all the original crystals and bezels. They're all, I have my guy that I send them to all be rebuilt. All of the dials are super clean. Well, these are all upside down because I showed you them the other way. But I like having, I'm a creature of habit. So I have a huge wrist, 8-inch wrist. These are super comfortable because they're like 44 millimeters. This one is absolutely gorgeous with the ghost dial, or the ghost bezel, and the cream hands on this one is just beautiful. If you're a watch nerd, you know that some of these are Siwa dial, which means that they're older. Some of them are not. So a little bit from every year, but the same movement. And then some of them are very cool. So like this one, that watch was purchased by George Moretto, and it has his blood type on it. Let me rotate here. Oh, positive right there. It's just, they're just little pieces of history. Now this would have been after Vietnam, so it's kind of almost like a, I don't know, like a PTSD thing. In Vietnam, a lot of GIs would put their names and their dog tags and stuff all over everything because unfortunately they would get blown to pieces and they wanted their families to make sure they got their benefits. So this one has engraving on it. This one has some engraving on it. This one's just a gorgeous, nice cream dial, no engraving. And this one is the more white lume, and I put a Pepsi bezel on it that I aged myself. Just, I modded it a little bit, but I have the original bezel. They're easy to pop off. No engraving on that one, I don't think. But I like to keep them all clean. I wear them a lot. I make my own leather straps. Of course, you have to have one diver. This is pressure tested. I can wear this in the water. For other Seikos, I do have one Seiko mod. This was made by Case and Dial, so this is a Captain Willard lookalike. I designed the bezel. The bezel is Bakelite. The hands were reloomed at the Citizen factory, and then on the back it has this beautiful engraving of our logo. So this was my affordable 15-year anniversary gift to myself because I love the Seikos so much. And then I do have an original Willard. I believe this is from 1972-ish. It's been fully gone over, fully redone after I bought it. And this one's really special to me because on the back it has dog tag numbers on it. Let me bring you in close here. I'm gonna have to flip the camera around. So this was worn most likely during Vietnam, and you can see there's not only dog tag numbers carved on the case itself, but also on the case back. It's very light right there. So you can see it has the case back itself has dog tag numbers on it, and the case has dog tag numbers on it. And this was, it really tells the history of that war because this is called a Captain Willard because Charlie Sheen wore it in Apocalypse Now. That's why this particular watch is famous. I love them because they're very comfortable. But this watch, I waited a very long time to buy one of these to find one that had historical significance. And to me, those engravings, there's like a G, there's some sort of, it's a little too light for us to make out for like an area of Hawaii, I believe. But yeah, so this one I don't wear it as often. I did have the crystal replaced, so it is a sapphire crystal. It's safe to wear. And I did kind of go a little sacrilege and have the stoplight reloomed in that pink color just because it's so iconic. But I have the original hand as well. So everything I've done, I can put back to original. This is the original bezel. I have the original crystal that was very beat up, but I still have it. And I don't plan to ever get rid of this one. This is one of the keepers. Took me years to find a piece like this. I don't like anything fancy. I'm not going for the Rolexes or anything like that. I like the historically significant sort of everyday watch. And that's why I think I like the Squales and stuff so much, because to me, they're the new sort of Seiko. You would go, Seiko was a Japanese company. They were really one of the only companies that could get through to Vietnam to get the GIs better watches, because they were in trenches and, you know, in much damper material, in damper situations than they were used to. So the military issued watches weren't really performing, so they would buy watches like this. These came out after the fact. These were the watches that they would buy when they got home, because they were similar to those, which is why these still have some engravings on them. Let's see. We'll go into my dive watches. This is a Scuba Pro 500, and I wear this all the time. You see this in a lot of videos. This one is not, it's fully, it was fully serviced a couple of years ago. I just bought this year. Again, looking for the right one. I don't like watches that are super perfect. So this is not a military watch, it's a dive watch, but it has that skeletonized, beautiful lume with the Mercedes hand, and it's at a movement that was in vintage Tudor, so this is from like the mid-70s. So this watch, no one really knows who made it. It's a very bulbous case, it's very tall. No engravings on this one, but it works flawlessly. It's gorgeous. And I love the skeletonized hand, and yeah, it's just one of my favorites. This is just a natural shell cordovan strap. That's a natural shell cordovan strap. And let's get into, I think I only have one or two more to show you, and then this will be a brief overview of some of my favorite watches. So rounding out my kind of holy grail dive watch collection, this is a Zodiac Super Seawolf from the 70s as well. Fully original. Keeps perfect time. I put a bigger strap on it. I think these hold like 19 millimeter straps. I bumped this one up to 22 just because my wrists are so big that a 19 millimeter strap looks really weird on my wrist. My wrist is like 8.5 inches, but this watch is gigantic. The bezel is Bakelite. It's not the best. Brand new, these are in very good shape. These go for like over $2,000. I don't pay $2,000 for watches, so I like the ones that show the wear. And this one is actually interesting because the Zodiac Killer got his name because he wore a Zodiac Seawolf. And if you look closely, you can see his symbol was basically just the Zodiac logo. That's it. And that's why he called himself the theory is that's why he called himself the Zodiac Killer. But for me, the Super Seawolf is just a very gorgeous watch. They make a chronograph version of this that's super rare. One day I would like to own it, but they're always like $5,000 or $6,000, and I love watches, but I don't love them that much. That's a whole new piece of stuff, a piece of equipment for the shop. I just wear these for fun, and it's something that I can look down at. I'm not the most stylish person, but every day I get to look down and just stare at my watch and be like, that's pretty freaking cool. And I have a lot more, but the last piece I want to show you is the one piece that I've ever bought brand new, and this is it's a Squale 60 Atmos. It's a 44 millimeter. It's gigantic. It's on a mesh strap. And this is basically my everyday wear in the summer. Just because it's super comfortable. I had to buy 2 Squale straps to get enough links for this to fit my wrist. But I like these because I don't mean to harp on the panic disorder, right? But I like any dive watch because they have the bezel that you can keep time on. So the way it works is you set the arrow to where the second time or the minute hand is, and then you know as the minute hand moves how long it's been since you've done XYZ. So when you're diving, you know how much time you have underwater. For me, it's if I have to take my meds and I have a panic attack, I know how long it's been since I've taken my meds. So I actually really do use these, and that's why I mostly own dive watches, because I use them functionally. So I have a bunch more of like little micro brand stuff and cool trendy stuff. And I have one here. This is, if you haven't heard of these guys, this is Helson. They make solid brass cases. They have NH35 movements. This one is super cool because it's actually a slab of jade in the dial. And these are gorgeous watches. The brass patinas. This one I've had this for about a year. I wear this a lot. It's on a Dolero strap that looks really a little bit more fancy than usual. So I'll wear this when I go out sometimes to trivia or something like that. Not like I go out a lot. And I usually try to line everything. This one is lined in veg tan, but I try to line everything in like a French coated plastic so that it's comfortable and doesn't pick up sweat. Because leather bands, if you're working in the workshop, can get kind of sweaty. So yeah, so I like Helson. I actually have these, and these go down to like on sale for like $300. So I have this one in their jade dial, they're black and green. Some with date, some not. And I also do get a write-off because I don't really have much, part of our job is making YouTube videos, and I don't have a lot of wardrobe. So I get to write these off for wardrobe, and that's a very cool way to justify purchasing watches. But for the most part, what I look for is sort of the future classics, the stuff that, when you could buy something with I think it's a Vejalou chronograph for $200 in the 80s, and now they sell for $8,000 or $10,000. I'm looking for that everyman watch that's current, that is such a good deal. And these things are built like freaking tanks. This is the 42 millimeter version, but they sell them all the way down to 38. Not sponsored. I just really like Helson as a brand. I think they make really cool pieces. When you compare them to something like the Scuba Pro, easily maintainable. It's got a time-tested movement. It may not be the fanciest, but you can get it repaired, replaced. Any watch company, any watch worker, any watchsmith can work on this. These get a little more sketchy, even though it's at a movement, so it's not that big of a deal. The biggest issue is the Super Seawolf has this weird pin thing that can break, so I'm very careful with this one. I wear this one a lot, but sometimes I won't even spin it, and I'll just let it keep its own time as it starts moving around, because winding this watch is a little bit dangerous for the internals of it, but that's okay. It's a historical piece, and I love it. So yeah, so I am into watches. I'm not crazy. I don't lust after the Pateks and the Rolexes and that kind of thing. I like the historical stuff. I like the micro brands which this isn't even a micro brand. Squale's been around for 60 years. They made cases for other brands, for Doxa, for everyone, before they made their own watches. And I do have a couple older Squale's too, but I can only show you so much at once. But yes, I am very much into watches. My purchasing ebbs and flows. A lot of these, my little turtles, I'll find on eBay for $100 or $200, and I'll buy those and have them sent away and have them fixed up. I don't particularly care for some of them if they're all original. These specifically, they made millions of them, so it's kind of fun to get your own bezel, age it down a little bit, and make a little Pepsi bezel that never existed but kind of looks cool. They usually never come on the original strap because they were rubber straps and they all tore apart. So I put a lot of my dive watches on leather because I think it's comfortable. This one has the little Corter logo on it, and I just like making watch straps. So yeah, so that is the extent of my watch collecting story, and a little extra, little bit of an extra at the end of the video when you thought it was over. So yeah, we'll see you next week.